Hi, everybody, and welcome to Massive Source podcast. Today, I have a lovely sister with me, Therese, and I'm very excited to do this talk because it's the first of a series around the topic, the true Nordic feminine, that came to me through a meditation. I will speak more about it in another introduction, but in detail. But it really was sparked by Therese after a conversation we had on the phone. So I'm from Norway and Therese is Swedish, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have been curious when I've been watching, because we have connected through Instagram, and I've been curious because I've been feeling your deep connection to the Nordic, how can I say it? Like it's a spirit, it's the earth, it's what's alive in the northern hemisphere, if I can say so, up here in Scandinavia. And I personally, being of two nationalities, have felt very kind of pulled in different directions in the world. And so it almost felt like there was this homecoming within me when I was kind of like searching for that spirit first inside of me, and then it appeared in examples such as yourself. So it was just beautiful to see and to follow how connected, because it's felt, you are to the land. So without saying much more, I would love for you to tell the world or my podcast audience a little bit about who you are in the world and what you do, if you feel like it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm nowadays based here in Stockholm, and I work here as a, let's call it a multidimensional guide. And in my work, I use mostly crystals, but I also work a lot in the nature. And I actually want to dive in right to how I ended up here.
Yeah.
Actually feeling comfortable being here, because it took me 39 years to actually feel that Sweden was a place where I could feel belonging.
Yeah.
So like directly after school, I kind of left Sweden to go travel, live abroad. And even when I got my son, I continued to travel.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, we were traveling as a family. And now I'm more walking the solo mama path. And but I continue to travel even as a solo mama. But when my kid ended up at starting school, I had to be here, which was really good because I needed to settle down truly. And that's where I actually found that this is a home I could feel belonging here. So in that way, my kid helped me to connect again with my Swedish roots. And I believe that a lot of Swedish people, we lost our connection with our roots. Like we don't have any, the culture feels very young. And so some years ago, and now it's 3 years ago, that I actually started to dive more into this, the meaning of the Nordic soul, as I call it, which of course includes all the Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
because here in the north, we have a lot of wisdom in the ground, in the truly sacred lands, in the mountains, in the forests. It feels very untouched. It's pretty untouched from imprints compared to other countries that had lots of war. So it's still very innocent, and it's truly vibrating, especially when you're getting up north to the mountains. And in that, of course, going back to like what the Nordic soul really, what it really holds as an essence. It's been a interesting journey to dive into that and feel like, how can I embody that essence in my daily life here?
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. I have a very, I think why also I felt very connected is because we have, in one sense, very similar stories. Because I think that if we are multidimensional, or we all are anyway, but without labeling or making ourselves special, but it's something about if you crave deep connection with nature and the earth, in a different way than just, here in Norway, I feel like a lot of people love nature. They're quite connected to nature. But for me, it has always been it's been a longing for a sacred space. And before, I didn't have a language for that. I didn't understand what I was seeking. I just knew that when I went into certain areas of the world, and it would kind of just happen, or I would just feel like I needed to go to certain spaces in the world and just on holiday, I kind of just communed with the land, and I felt like it was giving me something, but I couldn't explain at that time. And I was also kind of going out because I think I don't want to necessarily, give too much space to it, but I also feel like in the North, and what Scandinavia is quite famous for, is our ability to be quite like streamlined and quite conformed. Here we learn how to do, not so much to be. We learn how to, if we're nature, we're still being, but usually it's on a hike. So that's also like we're constantly in motion, and we're constantly in this sense of efficiency, and very, very much focus on the left brain, on like very like structural, systems and efficiency on all levels. And also one of the reasons why I wanted to do this talk was this, without going too much into it either, but this sense of the feminism gone wrong. I'm just going to say it as it is. Mm-hmm. And I feel that, and I know and look at many women and see that working 9 to 5, running into the childcare, I became a superhuman. I became like beyond superhuman. But what it took from me was my connectedness to myself, also deeper connectedness to others, to the earth, to even my children, I would say. I love my children, but if you're not fully connected to yourself because you're exhausted or barely sleeping or eating because you're running on adrenaline all the time, there's not much space for sacred practice. Or even a lot of women, they go to the gym or to yoga. I did that too. It's like constantly filling our schedules instead of being, but nobody really taught us how to do that. So I don't know how you feel about that journey as a Scandinavian woman. On the flip side.
I never been in the fast mainstream. I never lived that way. Because we traveled so much, and so I've been more I think living my feminine way,
Yeah.
because I also I never felt drawn to the structure and routine,
Yeah.
because of my Sagittarius spirit. I need adventure and freedom.
Mm.
Uh, but I can feel that since I more started to root myself and settle down here in Stockholm, I needed to find a practice that I could continue my, how to say, feminine way of living and not fall into the structured life. Um, that would have, uh, if I had allowed myself to fall into structured life, a lifestyle, I would have felt trapped. But since I give in and kind of surrender that, okay, I'm going to be here, I'm having my kid every second week and I need to find a lifestyle around that, um, that suits me, that I can still feel freedom here in Stockholm. That's how I found the nature, and I started to be out in nature by myself. I needed that. I crave a lot of alone time, and to be in nature, it felt, I didn't have an experience of the Swedish nature before, uh, which is interesting. Um, so it was like a new meeting, but I immediately felt that the these lands could, they held me. I felt so welcome somehow, and I feel that, like you're saying, that it, um, yeah, yeah, there's so much to share.
There is. I mean, I think that what would be for those, for those who have never maybe been to the north, for
Yeah,
those who do not understand, could you put into words what you feel when you're in, um, yeah, the Nordic nature? What it communicates to you, and what kind of message, maybe, if we want to go that far, but just if you could put into words, or even like energetic, perspective for the
yeah.
ones who's never been here.
hmm I'm thinking, like, if we're taking it back to the Nordic soul essence,
Yeah.
because that's what I truly connected with. Uh, First of all, I think I started to reflect on the people, because the forest where I normally go, it's a nature reserve who holds lots of remainings from the Stone Age, um, and, um, and from the Viking era, and that's made me reflect, like, okay, the people used to live here and farm the land, and reflecting on that, I think I started to connect with the seasons, because since I was here and I went out, I was in nature, like winter, spring, summer, fall, all the seasons, and that made me reflect and come back to the cyclic living. I didn't live like that before, because we were living in a more tropical location that doesn't have those um, contrasts in the seasons. So reflecting, like, outside on that, I start to, um, how does that work in me? Since I live after, like, inside, outside, it's the same. And when reflecting on our ancestors who lived here and how they truly were in sync with the nature, in harmony, living in harmony, uh, and how much, first of all, trust they have to themselves that they can live during a full winter, um, to survive that, and they know how to prepare what to eat. They know everything, how the nature provides them um, during the whole year. And in that, I could connect with something more, the trust that we are provided for always if we actually look. So even here in the north, um, we have lots of abundance in berries, in edible greens, and fruits also. So I think a lot of people tend to look like, oh, let's go for mangoes, tropical fruits, that is abundance. But that made me actually start to, coming from a lifestyle in the tropicals, made me look here that, okay, we have everything here also. And during every season, nature can provide if we can look, and just to, if we accept it. So that was one thing, coming in, connecting, living with the cyclic, which also reminded me like how our ancestors, because they were farmers, they knew how to truly make, how to collect from the nature, how to live with it. And first of all, also like how resilient they were. Yeah. Truly, because living up here, it's hard. You're facing so many months of darkness, which is a great opportunity to actually dive into yourself, compared to right now, the summertime. It's daylight all the time. Mm-hmm. And this time of the year is really activating. It fills you up with lots of energy. But when the darkness comes in October, November, that's a time also to like call back yourself home and go in and reflect, which is also part of the cyclic, and to use that, because I was one of those who actually, I couldn't stand the darkness. I just want to get out here to the sun, to the warmth. But now I truly appreciate it, and I can see the gift in it, how we can use it to work with ourselves. And yeah, wow, there's so much.
Yeah. No, I feel there's two words that's coming, or one that came, that speaks about preserving. When you were talking about the plants and looking, it's something about self-preservation, to nourish yourself with, first of all, healing plants, but also what's available in the earth. And looking, like you said, like looking, because for me it's about preservation. So you're preserving what's been given to you on the land that you've been given. You're nurturing it by also preserving yourself by it, and then giving back to it, and being in that cyclic relationship with nature. And I've had to learn also a lot. I have a very similar story like you do, also wanting to get out as a, and I think it also has maybe something to do with our nervous systems and, childbirth, or even age, because I think that at certain ages, your hormones are growing and everything is happening. So, and there's also high, there's also high mortality rate in suicides here. So it is also like in those stages where you're maybe more prone to depression, it can be extremely difficult. But we also, as you say, learn so much. And I think this is something I've almost only seen, that type of perseverance, like you said, that resilience, which is, it's a two-sided coin in a way, or a blade, right? Which anything in spirituality, or diving deeper into a connection with yourself and nature, it doesn't have to be spirituality even, it's this balance, living a balanced life, right? But I would love to also hear how you felt called to work with it, and like throughout your story, because we've talked together about also, which I think could be quite inspiring to other mothers, because I see you at least living a very free life as a woman, embracing your, not just freedom as I can do whatever I want, but freedom meaning that you've met your darkness. You have met what it means to, first of all, become a mother, which is a huge initiation in itself. Then it's also going into a relationship, a committed relationship, a marriage. And then also, when you understood that period was over, breaking that family up, which also, yes, it's easy for us to talk about it maybe now that we've fully embodied or gone through the initiations. But I always think, when I sit in this position, and I know I have listeners, I know many women, as myself, I've been listening to other women, are sitting just before a huge initiation, right? And they can feel, with all of these energies moving, I'm ready to step into my full embodied self. I'm ready to step maybe out of a relationship, but I have children. Because it's a different story when you don't have children. And it's, it's just a practical, it's different. So I don't know if you feel like speaking a little bit to that particular initiation into.
Yes.
Just whatever you feel comfortable with, but I think it could be very valuable for other women, or mother or not mother. We have to go through these steps, right, on our journeys to becoming our true essence. And those are the sticky parts that no one really talks about either,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think that if we start with motherhood, I could feel, since I haven't been living this typical mainstream life, I knew that my motherhood would look different compared to the mainstream. And in that, I think I had to, for my kids' sake and the next generations, I had to stand strong in my belief that I was carving out, like creating something new, creating a new platform for others I had to be like in the forefront of that. And which was like difficult, challenging, because for many years I met people who were questioning my choices, but I stood really strong, and for 5 years I was a homestay mom. Well, of course, we were traveling a lot, and I feel that also because I've been so aware of our multidimensionality, and I had that always in my life.
Yeah.
I could acknowledge that in my kid.
What does that look like? If you can speak to the ones that might not, in whichever way is natural to you, but some people don't understand necessarily that part.
I think it's, first of all, understanding that our children will always be an upgraded version of us, which means that they are here to teach us. And in that, I can see that he mirrors back my limitations, my limited mindset. And in that, he can guide me if I just surrender to, like, okay, it doesn't have to be a certain way. Yeah. And even though I was truly open, I mean, I was challenged. I'm still challenged all the time, because it always like, yeah, and in that, understanding how our children can mirror, and also like, what does he mirror in me? Like, it's yeah, it's understanding that I can work with myself in the relationship with him. If I can feel if he's unbalanced, I go to myself. Where am I unbalanced? Since he is a mirror of me. And also the resistance, like he gives me, makes me also leave my comfort zone, and makes me, almost forces me to expand, because I want to acknowledge all of him. I don't want to dim his light. I don't want to how to say, like, I want him to be safe, to feel safe, to show his whole emotional spectrum, instead of like, children are supposed to be like this and this and this. No, it's not. We need to see them as individuals, and what is his need right now. And yeah, there is so much like in that topic.
Yeah. No, but this is beautiful. I think this is, it's not, I don't find, I mean, one of the reasons why I do this is because when I stepped out in the world, I remember first time I wanted to take a baby and an 8-year-old at the time and travel across the world on my own. I was Googling, I'm not kidding. I've always tried to find other mothers just so I could have an idea what to expect, what to prepare. And there are very few. I think I found like one that had a blog and she was writing something about baby food on the airplane. I was like, that's not very helpful. No. And someday I will probably write a book about it, but now we're not going to necessarily travel that much. But it's something about, being vocal and talking about these things, and representing something different. And also maybe you can talk about, if you feel comfortable, how to stand in yourself and be strong, which is what I feel is very much your Nordic power. I that's what I feel in you when I spoke to you as well. Like how to stay strong when everybody is criticizing your choices. I know it's not a one fits all kind of thing, but
first of all, you need to I believe, own your belief. You need to, like, this is my truth and I'm going to stick to it. Yeah. And in that, when I truly stick to it, other mamas came into my life, sisters with children. And but for the first years was alone, but at that time I had a partner that was supporting in the choices we made. But what has really helped me to stand strong since we got separate ways is the sisters that I have who also has kids. And we have like a community, and we're coming back to supporting each other. What I truly believe is that we are missing, because as a mother, as a new mother, you are so alone. It's difficult to connect and like with others, and like the system also wants us to go back to work, quickly to leave at daycare. It feels like there is not much support in the motherhood. But in that, I feel I at least have my mother tribe, and to find sisters and coming back to that supporting tribe, it's really, really crucial, I believe, to build a new platform for mothers to stand on.
And I also want to, in light of, there's another Swedish sister, which I will interview in this series, and in light of motherhood and what is expected of us, I really want to say this out loud, because she shared very beautifully and openly, and we will dive deeper into that in the next kind of series. But it's really this perseverance. That's the other side of that blade.
Yeah.
When what our bodies, I mean, there's a whole movement going on right now, which is beautiful, reclaiming that sacred time, which is called the fourth trimester, when the baby's born. And I think that was one of the reasons why I've traveled so much, because I searched for communities that held the mother more on a pedestal in her motherhood as a home how do you call it, homestead, I don't know, anyway, and I can see how it's even revered and applauded, especially in the Scandinavian countries, if you have multiple job tasks and children, and you're supporting the football team, and you're making love, food, buying clothes, whatever, for your husband or boyfriend or whatever. It's like, and women are at the brim. And and I want to speak to this with, with a voice, because it's actually extremely toxic. It's extremely unhealthy to live this way. I have taken maybe the 4 past years of my life, and it was simply because both of my parents died. So it was emotionally too much for me to hold in the body with children and a full-time job. So life just did it for me, because I was working around the clock. But I love working. I pour my soul into Massive Source as well. But here I get to tend to my nervous system. I get to nap and rest when it's needed. I'm fully present with my children. I don't have a meeting to run to, or an email that I have to do, so it's like everybody's happy. And I can see how much my daughter is thriving. She's thriving, and I'm thriving. And also allowing ourselves, this is a big one for me that I really wanted to speak to for a long time. I don't know if you will, because I know that you offer different, like, womb healing, sacred sexuality, but I've also always nurtured myself, because I had a son at 20 as a woman. I have a life as a woman after motherhood. It's like I'm nurturing myself on all levels as a woman as well. And this is something that many women come to me around, and they're like, you have this special life that I can't access. And I know that it's not about that. It's about figuring out that it's not life-work balance. It's just balance. Yeah. It's all of these buzzwords and all of these, it's just balance. And therefore it's like, I really wanted to do this series because it's about returning to what was, and the remembrance of who we are, but also where we came from. And without dressing up as Viking ladies, we can be quite modern. So I don't know if you want to speak to that. There was many things there.
So what comes to my mind is that I believe that many women that becoming mothers have high expectations of themselves, because most of them also coming from a masculine point of view, that we need to do and be, like you're saying, mother, wife, working, blah blah. We need to do all this, like this. I don't know the English word, but I think that first of all, society comes with expectations on us, and men also put expectations on us, our partners. But we need to go into like, okay, how do I want it to be? Like, I remember the father of my kid, he said at one time, said, because I was asking for some time for myself. And he said that, but you're a mother now, and this is how it is. And I was like, what?
I've heard that too.
Only a mother. I'm me also. And I'm your partner, and I'm a sister, and I'm this and this. Also, I'm not only a mother. So we need to kind of come back to what does motherhood mean to us? What do we want it to mean? And that also, like, coming back to the feminine way of it, and in that also understanding, how can I fill my cup, since I'm giving so much and I'm dedicating, like, of course, like you're dedicating so much time, energy, attention, you tend to your child, but like, how can I fill myself up? I need to, that's my responsibility, to also fill my, how do I nurture myself? Otherwise I'm going to lose myself in this whole circus of being a new mother.
And
So,
also, I want to say one thing, sorry to interrupt, but there's one thing I see constantly with women and mothers, and this is speaking directly to them too. It's like they always find ways to keep themselves so busy so they don't need to tend to themselves. It's like this, and then saying I'm exhausted and I need, it's like you have to put yourself first. And there are so many layers of shame and ancestral patterning that we learned from our own mothers that we need to create conscious awareness around, clear, and then, as you say, redefine. Who are you as a mother? You get to choose. It's a candy shop.
yes.
It is. It truly is, once you get into it.
Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, we need to break that cycle of neglecting ourselves, because we don't, that's, the times are different now, and we need to claim ourselves, like all of ourselves, and not being consumed by the mother role, I would say. And like you're saying, I remember when I felt that I had to go for a divorce, I felt over a year, I went silently, I was holding and talking to myself. And I felt like, oh my God, I'm gonna be the one breaking up a nuclear family. And I felt so much guilt because I wanted to give my child this nuclear family, of course, stable ground, stable everything. And but to what cost? Because I was neglecting myself. So yeah, it took many years to pull myself out of it, and meet that shame and guilt that I was the bad guy, kind of. I was the villain of breaking everything, dissolving everything, and also the guilt of having that I couldn't give that to my son, but also understanding that somehow he was already aware of this to happen from a higher perspective, that there is no right or wrong. Well, the right thing is for me to follow my inner guidance, what feels best for me, because I don't believe in staying together because of the children. That's no.
No, I think we're a whole generation of people healing ourselves and our inner children. A whole lot of dysfunctional adults with unhealed inner children, because we are brought up from a generation of parents that stayed because of the children. And also because there's a lot that the society at that time, because we are in an evolutionary process right now, and I think that's why we are voicing this.
Yeah.
Because at that time, what you would be met with was complete shaming. And even in some societies in the world today, you can't even be a part of society anymore. And this is why, I feel like it's all connected, right? I feel like now Scandinavian women, because we have kind of evolved, maybe, I don't want to say quicker because it's not a competition, but we've been given, because of feminism and because of evolutionary, societal, whatever history, we've been given a lot of economical freedom, societal freedom. So you and I can be single mothers and do our multidimensional practice and raise beautiful, nurtured, happy children, also with other tribe caretakers that can infuse our children's life with new and more enlightened and heightened, community and values. But I feel like we can do this because when we broke free from the relationship, we were not stoned to death.
Yes.
As it happens in other societies. And that's also why I believe that this is why the voice of the true Nordic feminine kind of needs to come out there. I believe that this is why I was asked to do this, because it's difficult sometimes to talk about these things, but unless we do and unless we voice it, there can be no change. Right?
Yeah, I believe that I truly want to show that it's possible to be a mother and have a freedom and still feel free, because many women that I meet they feel trapped in the family situation, single or in a partnership. They feel trapped that they don't have any freedom in themselves, in their lives, but it's possible. And we need to allow ourselves to, when we work on the foundation of self-love, we understand that we need that. Because if I fill my cup, I'm going to be a better mom, better partner, or not better, but more balanced. And I believe that there's a saying I'm hearing, that happy wife, happy life. And I can say also I want to actually also involve the men, because there are lots of men seeing this also and supporting their, especially the one in a relationship. They are in a partnership with kids, and they know that it's important that the mother gets her own time. It's okay. There is no shaming or blaming anymore. But we need to understand that we can take that space for ourselves.
Yeah. And I'm happy you're bringing in the men, because I do feel like, I speak about it a lot, how unfortunately, I feel like the Nordic men, because of this extremely strong feminine has been rising, the men almost don't know which role to take. Because I work a lot with balancing masculine, feminine in people. And so I can see how, the more conscious men who've done the work and who were really aware of this, like you say, they are so scared. They're so scared because if they do the right thing, say the right thing, wrong thing, especially Scandinavian men, they are just being shamed as, like I don't know, the villain or the, you know, a perpetrator. So I, you know, I also want to salute the the Nordic men for also that kind of evolution, because I also see from other cultures where the woman hasn't been given this amount of freedom like we have. They have the patriarchy is much more alive.
Yeah.
So without talking about, because I feel it's just the old, it's not that interesting, but this is where we're coming from. So where do you see us walking into the new, you know, sacred union? Firstly, obviously within ourselves, this is what it's all about. I don't know if something is coming up for you regarding the new masculine.
I believe that, yeah, now the Nordic women, the Nordic woman, she has been working for some years now, balancing herself, self-regulating, and taking full responsibility for her own, and stepping out of victimhood, coming back to her power, connecting with her truth. And in that, the men are kind of forced to change, because a woman who's in her core, she don't play according to his rules anymore. She's like, this is my rule book, and this is how I want to be treated, and yeah, this is my guiding lines for you. And of course, I mean, the men wants to meet, they want to connect with the women. So I think this is the initiation for them to become men, from being, I mean, the majority has been boys in adult bodies. And since we don't have this fatherhood initiation that should have been there, like we are going through with motherhood and all those inner and outer changes, the men don't they don't have that initiation process within them just because they become fathers. Many they continue to be boys, and the mother feels that she has one adult boy and the children. But when we are changing ourselves, coming back to our power, the men are forced to step up, because they also have the longing to meet, to feel the union. So I believe that is an important key in, like, stand strong in your truth and don't accept less than that. Don't play the old rules that has been with us for so many centuries. That's long gone.
And asking, I feel like it's because it's been this game, right? There's been this game between masculine and feminine, and this game is now over. It's not even possible for it to continue, even though people will try. Good luck with that. I just feel what I feel throughout my journey is that I have been am a very strong woman in many aspects, yet I've also learned how to soften into my feminine, because I was like the opposite of you in a way. Like I went into the workforce full on. I mean, I didn't work at an office or anything, but I worked with music and creative things. So I did feel free in many, many ways. I had amazing things, but I have felt with the masculine that they have also needed my invitation.
Yes.
So it's, I feel like I've had to relearn a lot about my communication skills, and because I knew, you know, I got really good at like knowing what I wanted and voicing it and learning how to speak my truth, connecting to my womb space and learning that I needed to tune in with my children and the environment and even with men. And then there came a phase of my life where I was actually in celibacy for a long time, but I invited men in to talk to them. Mm-hmm. And I would ask them all these questions and how they're experiencing what's going on for you. And a story that I'd never heard before, because I took time for it, was how difficult things were or how they didn't understand. And I learned how to invite the man in by just being very, very honest. Because most men, from my understanding, they need you to just say exactly what you feel and what you mean. And to say, you can touch me here. Can you please help me with this? I need you to move A to B. Like, they love that. And most men, I swear to you, I've heard it so many times now, they say, oh my God, and they're like breathing. I feel so relieved because I can be myself with you. And because I just dropped the game. I didn't do any game. I didn't do any flirting. I was like, I'm messy. I need to do this now. I'm going to cry a little bit. Like, I'm angry. What the fuck are you doing? Like, I just showed all of my everything. I didn't hide anything. And they were like, okay, I can do that too now. And then like the fun began, because we could really be ourselves. And what happens is that you can actually use that as a co-creational space where you are more yourself. And then more of yourself is being pulled out. And then where the level where we're at as well, it's like a lot of healing is coming up. So a lot of tears and, you know, where they haven't been allowed. And usually there's story about mother wounds as well. So that's also part of where we as the feminine, because I came from a family also where there was a lot of this strong feminine, and it almost became like a silent resentment towards the masculine. So I feel like we need to invite them in now and also give them space to heal and represent the new masculine. And they won't do that alone, where it's a co-creational space.
Yes, they need our invitation, and also we need to show them that we trust them, because there has been so much mistrust towards men, and we need to decide for ourselves that, okay, I can trust men, that because I'm that comes when you actually take ownership of yourself, that I'm responsible for my feelings, I'm responsible for my thinking, and in that I can also, like, okay, I decide if and we have clear boundaries, of course, also, but we need to dare again to trust men, because there are many, many beautiful men, and they also want to heal, of course. And like you're saying, when we're inviting them, we're healing each other, old ancestral imprints that we can reprogram, and in that create something new. And in the beginning, when meeting a man, when you're not coming from your old programming and you're meeting a man in a new way, that's where you start to build energetically the new platform in a new way, how to relate and how to be and how to meet man and woman.
Yeah, no, that's it. I think that's exactly what we're meeting within ourselves. It's all of this programming and all these movies and Cinderella stories and what things should look like. No, but it's damage, you know. I'm just doing this to have some more sunlight, but we have reached almost, I feel that there's such a beautiful flow, so I can just talk forever. I just wonder if there's anything else you want to speak to. around this co-creation? Or just you yourself, just as you, because I was very fascinated to meet another mother who, you know, I've been on this path for quite some time. I can say this. And I just felt very, very alone because I wanted to live differently as a mother, but I was so young, so it was difficult for me to fully come into, you know, I was still figuring out who I was, etc. And my son did a beautiful job at teaching me. You know, he was very strict. He was extremely strict. He would just throw tantrums and things, so I would just be challenged. I was like, my whole kind of upbringing of him was just like, yeah, coming up for air from time to time. I can't even remember in detail many of those years because it was so strenuous. With my daughter is like a beautiful unicorn dance. I feel like she's my best friend. It's like probably what you shouldn't say, but it's like, I don't care. It feels like we're just souls having such a blast. But I remember, and I wanted to say this because I feel like this is why I do this podcast, to show like who the embodiment of our stories, to reach out to those who are like, I can feel it, but I'm not sure. I don't know. You know, it's like, it's right there, but, and I remember so well having a deep, deep longing and a knowing in my heart that even if I feel very alone in what I believe in, I know in my heart that there are other people, and I know that there's a way. I just felt like saying that. How you experience that? Because there are moments when we feel alone, when we are shifting.
Yes.
How's that been for you? Because it's like, we can talk about the embodiment and strong, but there has been moments, I don't know, like I used the bathroom floor to cry on a lot, or just lay down because it was warm.
Yeah, I believe that, I think we can, we have to allow ourselves to be in that vulnerable, what is that word?
Vulnerable. I think I say it wrong too. We're Scandinavian. It doesn't matter.
We have to be in that state where we feel, we need to allow ourselves to go into the surrender state. Like, okay, I don't know how to keep it all together, and I don't know how to proceed. I don't know, it might be stormy around, but still connect with something deep within ourselves, a trust to ourselves that we are worthy of choosing what brings us joy, what brings us harmony, what brings us to follow our excitement, that we are worthy of that. I remember, because when I after the divorce, it was extremely chaotic, everything, but I had this, in this super storm, I could see this tiny little spark of light, and I was like, that I'm not gonna lose focus. I'm gonna keep my eyes on that spark. I don't care how stormy it is. That spark is guiding me towards something, and it was so tiny, and it was like all this, but I followed it, and after a while this storm kind of starts to dissolve and it starts to calm down. But you have to allow yourself to feel all emptied out and like, okay, I have no control, and that is okay, because that's when you also go into the surrender of something greater than our logical mind. How it's like, how can I, where am I going to live, economic situation, work situation, blah, all those practical things. We just need to trust that we are supported. I could feel the support from my from my personal guides, my team. I could feel the support, and they kind of also encouraged me to like break up also. But when the first time I heard it, my child was so small, and I was like, how is that even possible? To Can I? No, I couldn't see how it could work out. That's why it took me so many years. But I mean,